How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Scoring from the 50 podcast. We got a full-length podcast back for you today. Okay, I know it's been a little bit. I've been a little busy trying to keep this going, though. Okay, trying to keep this going. We're back to a full-length podcast. My name is Drew Smith. Welcome back to episode, I think, about 15, 16, or somewhere around there of Scoring from the 50 podcast. Today, we got a big show, okay? We got a few headlines I want to go over. We got Georgia-Auburn played this weekend. We had Texas and Oklahoma in the Red River Shootout. We had, let's see, we got Bama-Mizzou. I can't even remember all the stuff we have to talk about. We got Bama-Mizzou, Indiana-Oregon. We had James Franklin getting fired. We'll hit on that about halfway through the show, in between talking about last week and next week. But then we got Vanderbilt and LSU. We got Ole Miss and Georgia. We got Tennessee and Alabama, USC and Notre Dame. We have 4 games to talk about from last week, 4 games to talk about from this week. We're loaded tonight. All right, so let's hit on a few headlines that happened around the country. To start off, Ohio State beat Illinois 34-17, a absolutely huge win for Ohio State. Going to that game, I think a lot of us expected that kind of result, though. I think after the Illinois loss to Indiana and the way that they did, I think we've all kind of just cooled off on Illinois, right? Like, I've kind of felt that. I think after the Duke game, Illinois was gaining a little steam. And going into the season, they had 9 wins last year. They bring back everybody from last year. This was the year to make a step, but you get blown out like that by Indiana, you just lose all your excitement, right? So we expected that from Ohio State to handle Illinois the way that they did. Big win for Ohio State. They're keeping their undefeated season going. They're, I think, in my mind, the number 1 team in the country, head and shoulders above everybody else right now. There's a pretty decent gap in my eyes between them and Miami, and then Indiana below them is how I would rank the top 3 right now. But I think Ohio State's pretty far ahead of everybody. It's just a matter of if they can keep that going for the rest of the season. If they can, they'll win the national championship back-to-back. Next, we also want to hit on the fact that Ole Miss had a very, very scary game against Washington State. They only won 24-21. Trinidad Chambliss didn't look great in this game, okay? I think he still had some pretty good stats-wise, but he didn't look great, okay? The offense didn't look as good as they've looked recently, but Ole Miss did enough to survive, okay? They still are going to be undefeated heading into Georgia this weekend, and we will hit on that later in this episode, but big win for Ole Miss, but it should have been a lot easier, man. Like Lane Kiffin said, can't be doing that D2 stuff, right? They should be just looking ahead to Georgia. I think they'll bounce back in a big way. USC, we'll talk about USC a little bit more whenever we talk about the Notre Dame game this weekend, but they won in a way that I can believe in them for the rest of the season. Like if they would have won the game, high-flying offense, Michigan just couldn't keep up with their offense, I would have thought the same of them as I did before the game, really. But the fact that they won it running the ball, they won it up front, they won it in the trenches, that gives me a lot of hope for USC, and the fact that they can build off of that and turn this into a program-changing win, and a win that tells the world, hey, we're not just the old flash-fashion Lincoln Riley type of team. We're a team that can beat you physically and beat you on the ground, beat you in the trenches, beat you with the D-line, right? Beating them with that defense, man, Michigan only scored 13 points. That's the kind of recipe that can make USC into a real competitor that can go to a college football playoff, and not only go to the college football playoff, but compete in college football playoff, because that's a program that has the expectations to be competing for a national championship week in and year in and year out. That's where Lincoln Riley wants USC to be, and I think that win might be a huge stepping stone to being able to get to that, just because of the way that they won that game. A&M also beat Florida 34-17. It was close there for a little bit. I think it was high scoring in the first quarter, but then Florida just couldn't keep up, right? Florida, it's just, you get tight. It's like, oh, is it coming? And then you beat Texas, and then it relaxes. And then you lose in the way that you did at A&M, and it gets a little tight again. It's getting really tight for Billy Napier again. Not that it really ever relaxes for him, okay? He, for whatever reason, can only coach whenever his job's on the line, which means he's going to go beat Mississippi State by 50 this weekend, right? That's usually how it goes. I'll digress. James Franklin also got fired. What happened? I was going into this season thinking Penn State was a top 2 national championship contender. Granted, along with Texas, and Texas has completely plummeted as well. But Penn State, I've never seen anything like what's going on with Penn State. We'll hit on that after we get through the games that happened just this weekend. But the first game I want to talk about is Georgia and Auburn, man. This feels like an uncomfortable game to talk about because Gunnar Stockton, he had a decent game. He went 24 for 37, 217 yards, no touchdowns. The team had 79 rushing yards. I'm looking at this box score before recording this and doing some research on what to talk about, different stats that I need. And I'm looking at it, and it's like, man, Auburn beat them in a lot of ways. Auburn won't beat them by a mile on third down. Georgia had more yards, but Auburn smoked them in the running game, smoked them in the rushing game. I think the reason why they won was because of Gunnar Stockton and him being able to make timely throws and important throws to his receivers. But what really got me, and I'm not the kind of person that is ever going to blame a game on the refs. I'm never going to do that because there are so many different plays that if you just do something better earlier in the game, you're not in that situation to begin with, right? But to me, I'm looking at this box score and I'm like, okay, a lot of these stats should be leaning towards an Auburn win. And then I see they had 40 more penalty yards than Georgia did. And I'm not saying that this game was won or lost because of the refs, but I think we can all agree that the officiating was absolutely abysmal in this game. And we will talk about that in a second. I want to wait until after we talk about Auburn. Jackson Arnold was 19 for 31. He had a pretty good game. He didn't look that bad to me, honestly. He looked serviceable. He had 137 yards, 55 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. Cam Coleman had a kind of a quieter game than I thought he would have. He had 7 catches for 50 yards. Auburn, I think, was the better team in this game. I really think that Auburn should have won this game. It was at Jordan-Hare. They're playing good. They dominated the first half. I think Auburn should have won this game. And I think you need to focus on Hugh Freeze here. And I think you need to have kind of an uncomfortable conversation about it. Because if you're up 10-3, I don't care what happened at the end of that first half. It was a mess. Everyone knows it was a mess. But you are up 10-3 on Georgia. You just dominated every aspect of the first half. Completely. You're at home. You're at Jordan-Hare where wild happens all the time. All the time. You have to get that done. If your job is on the line, like Hugh Freeze's is, and now it even is more on the line playing Mizzou this weekend, you have to get that done. You're in a situation that you are favored in that scenario. I think, like, if I'm putting money on who's going to win this game before the 2 minutes timeout, I'm putting all my money on Auburn. They were dominating every aspect of that game. You can't let the refs affect you that much. I know that last 2 minutes was handled the worst I think I've ever seen a football team handled by referees. But you can't let your team have that mindset of, oh, we're getting screwed. Even though you probably are. You got screwed against Oklahoma, and now you're getting screwed again by the officials. But you can't have your team in that mindset. You, as a coach, cannot have that mindset of, oh, the games are controlled, or this game is getting controlled by the refs. You have to go into that locker room and say, we're in control of this game. We just dominated them for a half. Go out there, do it again. It should be 17-0 right now. Go out there, do what you just did, get the job done, and let's go to Mizzou. That's what you need to be doing in that locker room. You can't, like the reporter interview that he had going into the locker room, you could tell he was holding himself back from saying what he wanted to say. He was not happy. I wouldn't be either. I think he handled that interview better than I would have. That's why he's getting paid millions of dollars to coach. I'm sitting on my couch, right? But you can't go into the locker room and spread that to your team, right? I don't think you can have that mindset of the refs are controlling this game and then go into the locker room. I think that is just a horrible and infectious way of thinking that will get your whole team to play like they did in the second half. which was not good enough at all. They completely fell apart. They didn't score in the second half. The final score was 20-10. They were up 10-3 at halftime. You have to get that game done. You have to get the job done. You have to. But let's talk about it, okay? Let's the 2 minutes. So I had my friend over to watch this game. We're watching the Michigan game on my TV, and we're watching this Auburn and Georgia game on my projector. And I kid you not, the 2-minute timeout happened about the same time that Michigan and USC went to halftime. They came out of the tunnel. I think USC had about either a full drive or at least half of a drive done by the time that the Georgia-Auburn game finally went to halftime. The first thing was the goal line overturn. I don't care what you think if he got in or not. It was close. Anyone who's saying it wasn't even close, it was close. Okay, it was very clearly close. It's why it took forever for them to review it. And in my opinion, they got it wrong. I think that he was in. I'm pretty certain he was in. Either way, what should have happened if you didn't think he was in, Georgia took that ball, never touched the ground, and scored a touchdown. Why did they not get 7 points from that? They just blew it dead where they recovered the ball. Why? Where did that come from? What gave them the idea that that was a possibility in that scenario? No, that's not what happened at all. Like it's either Auburn gets 7 points or Georgia gets 7 points. Anything in between that is wrong. And they made the wrong call. It does not matter if he was in or out of that end zone. That call that they made was wrong. Now, whenever you do give Georgia the ball, you call a targeting call, which was kind of iffy, which we can talk for hours and hours about how stupid the targeting call is in college football. It's either A, you didn't do anything wrong and you made a clean tackle, or B, you're trying to kill the other team and you use the crown of your helmet, you're gone. No, that's not how football works. Accidents happen. It's a physical game where you are tackling the other person to try and get what you want. There's going to be incidental contact to the head. That's why they wear helmets. That's what the helmet was invented for, was to protect heads because they're running into each other, okay? That's what they're for. If you cannot accept the fact that there are levels to trying to take a kid's head off, but also just making a clean tackle that you accidentally happen to hit the crown at the top of the helmet on his helmet. Those are two completely different things, and you have to add the fact that we're still having this conversation after years and years and years of this has been an issue since I was a child, that they don't have levels to a targeting call. It's either black or white, and that's not how college football tackles are. They're 18 to 22-year-old kids. They don't know exactly what they're doing. They're not professionals. You can't throw a kid out just because, a few weeks ago, whenever Jayshon Barnum, I'm a Michigan guy, whenever Jayshon Barnum got thrown out of I forgot who we were playing, but he missed the first half of the Oklahoma game because he turned his head slightly and the top of his helmet because he had to go down to tackle this short quarterback because he's huge, so he has to go down to tackle him, and his helmet hits the top of his helmet. He's out for the rest of the game and the first half of the Oklahoma game. That's stupid. That is just stupid. Not to mention that the play that Auburn made on him, I don't even really know if that was targeting. Okay, I think it was close. I haven't seen many arguments in this. But either way, he should not have been thrown out of the game for that. That killed all the momentum. If the goal line call didn't kill all the momentum, that did. That killed all of Auburn's momentum in the first half. And it was agonizing to watch. I'm having my friend who's a huge Georgia fan just laughing because he knows that it is just utter bull. And that is horrible, okay? That's horrible. You cannot do that as a ref. That part actually isn't on those refs. It's the rule and the way that the rule is written that is completely wrong. We're not even done here, okay? How many stops do we need at the end of a half to get a single call right. They would not stopping the game. How do you lose that much control where you don't even know what you're seeing, that you have to go record and revise everything that you have called? What are you doing as a ref? Like, if you can't make the call, just leave. Just leave. If you can't make a call, if you don't know what happened on a play, just go home. We don't need you, okay? If we're going to have just a bunch of replays over and over and over again for every play, we don't need you. You can just go home. You can just go home. And then what made me so mad, and on this drive, Georgia missed a field goal, and I told my Georgia friends, like, I don't feel bad for you at all. Is this how we clap these days? Because this doesn't make a clapping noise. I don't know if my microphone's on. I don't hear a clapping noise from this. That moment that you see Kirby come running out on the field like, I'm clapping, I was clapping. And then you visibly see the ref go. And then it instantly cuts to Kirby sprinting down the sideline, going like this. Oh my gosh, it was hysterical at that point. That's how bad the refs were. He's sprinting down the sideline with a tee in his hands. And the refs decide to say, oh no, we're not going to give a delay of game penalty, even though there was 1 second on the clock. No, we're not going to charge them a timeout. We're not going to do anything to them. It's nothing. What? How do you see that and be like, okay, there's 1 second on the clock. Okay, maybe he didn't call a timeout. I'm just trying to put myself in those shoes. If I see Kirby Smart screaming at me, I didn't call a timeout. Like, I'm clapping is what I heard. Okay, I heard that through the hot mic on the ESPN broadcast, and it was hilarious. But if I said that, I'm like, okay, maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't. But there was 1 second on the clock, on the play clock, and you don't give him a delay of game. It's like, if you are doing something that a ref would think is calling a timeout, you should get a penalty anyways. That's my opinion. I don't care if you were or what you were or weren't doing, even though he was literally, you could visibly in slow-mo see him going like this. I don't care. If you're doing anything that a ref thinks could be a timeout being called, that should be a delay of game. The fact that there was 1 second on the play clock and they didn't give them a delay of game is absurd. Just absurd. Like, I don't care if he was clapping or calling a timeout. Something has to happen. There should never be a time, unless there's a ref error in what they are doing, that the clock stops and resets. At least the play clock. What were they thinking? That was the worst reffed game I have ever seen. And I'm not a Georgia or an Auburn fan. I don't care who wins that game. I think it'd be cool to see Auburn win that game, rush the field. I always cheer for field rushes. But you got to be better, man. And the fact that Kirby and Hugh Freeze have to go, and even the players have to go answer to the media, but the refs just get to go home, not answer any questions, not face any backlash, not really face any punishment that we know about. And they just get to go home. No consequences. For a terribly reffed game where I believe that every single one of those refs should be fired. I don't care who you are. I don't care how many years that you've been doing that. Every single one of those should be fired because a game should never get out of hand the way that that did. I feel for Auburn fans. I do. This is the second time it's happened this year where there's been a game that they were in that was just terribly mismanaged. I feel for them. I'm not going to say that that was the reason that you lost the game because you had a lead 10-3 at halftime and you still lost. But I feel for you. I do. Now, in a result that was kind of shocking to me, I thought this game might get out of hand in the opposite direction. Texas won the Red River Shootout 23-6. John Mateer came back for this game, and I kind of assumed, well, even if his thumb isn't great, maybe his thumb isn't feeling great, he still has the legs to beat this team. Texas has not looked good all year. Defensively, offensively, has not looked good. I thought John Mateer would be able to run all over them. I didn't think it would even be an issue. Even if he couldn't throw the ball, I didn't think the defense would be good enough to be able to stop him on the ground. But they did. Arch Manning, he had a pretty good game. I mean, he went 21 for 27, 166 yards and a touchdown. What I found most impressive about that game is that he didn't do anything stupid. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. He had 0 picks. John Mateer had 3. I think that's impressive, and I think that is something that Arch should be recognized for, is not doing anything dumb, not putting the ball in harm's way, just doing what you need to do as Texas quarterback and getting the ball to where it needs to get to and just staying on schedule, getting the job done. And he did that perfectly. I think he did. It wasn't a blown away stats game. It wasn't a blown away, like, always making crazy plays kind of game. But he played his game. He played a game that was required from him and a game that he won the game. And what I thought was even more promising for Texas is that defense showed up. Going into the season, my thought process on Texas and why I'm pretty sure I had them as my number 1 team going into the season. Even if Arch didn't work, even if the receivers didn't show up, I thought that the defense would be able to carry them, maybe not beat Ohio State week 1. I didn't really expect that. But I thought that the defense would be able to carry them to a place that could beat Florida. Like, especially a Florida team that's playing the way that they are. Like, I thought the defense with Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill Jr., you have names after names after names on that defense that I thought would show up no matter what. I thought, man, if you can bet on anything about this Texas team, it's that defense is going to be crazy, and they haven't been. They just haven't been good enough. Colin Simmons, he showed up in a huge way, finally, this game. He had 2.5 sacks. The defense had 5 sacks. They only allowed 48 rushing yards. The defensive line played outstanding. That's the defensive line that I thought was going to show up for the Ohio State game, that was going to show up for the Florida game. That's the kind of win that I wanted to see from Texas, because it's a foundational win. It's a win that sets a strong base to build off of. If they would have won off of crazy plays from Arch and running all over the place, like having to do some crazy stuff just to win a game, if that's how they would have won, I would feel a lot less confident in Texas and them being able to fix the season, rebuild the season. I just think that if you play a game that is fundamentally good and fundamentally, if you win the game from fundamentals of football, that's how you build off of it. That's how you then you can start having those crazy plays, and that's how you become a great team, is that you have those foundational stuff and have this set stuff that you know you can count on every single game, that being hopefully the Texas defense going forward. And then you can add the greatness on top of it and become a great national championship level team. And I think that's what Texas has been missing the first few weeks. And it's really good to see Texas be able to do that. It's just a matter of if they can do it consistently, because it's the first time we've seen it all year. Now, on the flip side, for John Mateer, I felt like he didn't play that bad, but he did at the same time. It's like the stats, they look decent, 20 for 38, 202 yards, but 3 picks. Can't do that, man. Can't do that. You can't turn the ball over. The run game, like I just said, 48 yards on the ground for Oklahoma. Not good enough. I think Oklahoma has an O-line problem. They give up 5 sacks to Texas. They ran for 48 yards. Those two stats are never going to mix well. Usually that means that your offensive line is not playing at a level that is going to allow you to win a football game. 5 sacks, 48 yards. Don't mix. The defense, on the other hand, I will say, I felt like the defense played really, really good. They only allowed, 18 points or so, because they had the punt return touchdown. That's not on the defense. The defense actually did their job. Like, you're doing your job as a defense if that's how they score. But I liked what I saw from the defense. I think that Oklahoma is still, everything that they want to do is still ahead of them. That's their first loss of the season. They can still go to the playoff, still even go to the SEC championship, even though there's about 25 million teams that have one loss in the SEC right now. Everything they want is still ahead of them. Oklahoma is still in a really good spot to be able to win what they want to win. I just think you can't do that if you're John Mateer. You can't do that if you're John Mateer. You can't throw 3 picks. You just can't. You cannot. That seems so simple. Don't give the other team the ball. But what scares me is the run game. I think if there's ever going to be a reason that they lose a big game like that, it's going to be because they have 48 rushing yards. That's not good enough for Oklahoma. That's not good enough to win what they want to win. I don't know if that's fixable. The 3 interceptions, that's fixable. The run game, Jaden Ott has been a complete no-show this season. I thought he was going to be really good. The transfer from Cal hasn't been great. You need to get that figured out, and you need to get the O-line figured out. I think they can. I think it's possible, but I don't know if it's likely. So I'm a little bit scared for Oklahoma. But Texas, man, they're feeling good. You got to be feeling good. Winning the Red River Shootout, you won in a way that can give you a lot of confidence if you're a Texas fan. I think going forward, Texas might be a little scary. Even though they already have those 2 losses, they're a scary team. I wouldn't want to play them right now. Now, my favorite game of the day was actually the first game. It was Alabama and Mizzou. This is the only game that I came out of feeling like both of these teams are really good. That's the only game that I watched all weekend that I thought, yeah, both these teams are good. Bama beat Mizzou 27-24. Ty Simpson was 23 for 31, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jim Miller had a really good game on the ground, 20 carries, 85 yards. Something that I thought was kind of a good thing if you're an Alabama fan. A little nervous, but mostly a good thing. Yermie Bernard and Ryan Williams did not show up for this game. Ryan Williams didn't even catch the football. But you were still able to put up 27, still able to beat a really good football team in Mizzou. And I think if I'm an Alabama fan, that gives me a lot of confidence going forward. If you don't need certain people to show up, you can, even if certain people don't show up, even if certain people aren't playing as good as they should be, you can still win the game. That would give me a ton of confidence going forward. I really liked that they were able to limit their mistakes, even though they kind of got a little bit iffy. They were able to limit their mistakes in a way that they were able to play a good fundamental game, like I kind of just talked about with Texas, just better than what Texas did against Oklahoma, right? They played in a very balanced way. They had 200 passing yards and 125 rushing yards, which is always going to give you a lot of success. Ty Simpson, he's a dog. Like, he's not, he feels like those old Alabama Nick Saban quarterbacks. Nothing special. He's not going to blow you away with the talent, but he will make the throw in the perfect time, in the perfect way that's going to win you a football game. I'll get to that moment where Mizzou faked a punt. I thought they got a first down. They didn't even really question it at all on the broadcast, and I thought that was weird. But they give the ball back to Alabama, and then they instantly get to like 3rd and 25. That's where I'm going to stop for now. I want to give more context to that in a bit. Mizzou looked good. Bo Perbula, 162 yards, 16 for 28, 2 touchdowns, but he also had 2 picks. 62 rushing yards and a touchdown, though, is also a huge help on the ground, where Ahmed Hardy didn't really show up for this game. They didn't give him the ball. Ahmed Hardy only had 12 carries in this game. Jam Miller had 20. Ahmed Hardy had 12. Ahmed Hardy had been playing as the best running back in the entire country. Not just the SEC, but the entire country. And you only gave him 12 carries? Why? That doesn't make any sense. The D-line, on the other hand, played phenomenally, okay? D-line had 4 sacks and 7 TFLs. You just can't let them convert on 3rd and 25, okay? I think if Bo Perbula just gets rid of one of those interceptions, and obviously the last one, if he gets rid of that, they get in the field goal range to kick a field goal. But if he just gets rid of either one of those, I think they either win or they're at least in overtime with a chance to win. And that's why I really, really liked what I saw from Mizzou today. Okay, like, Mizzou's always been that team where it feels like, man, they're good. They can beat most, I wouldn't say most, but probably about half the teams in the SEC. They've been mid-table team. Today they showed that they can scale to an Alabama level. Mizzou has the team this year. They could beat anybody. And that is so exciting if you're a Mizzou fan. If you're from Columbia, Missouri, which a lot of my friends are, now at least, they're not. They were from here, but now they live in Columbia. You have to be thrilled with how your football team played on this weekend. You had Alabama on the ropes. You fake that punt, right? And I don't necessarily disagree with the call to fake that punt, because I was thinking, do they go for it in the first place? So I don't hate the fact that they faked the punt. But you give the ball back to them, and then you get I think you had a penalty, or maybe you just had 2 sacks, but it's like 3rd and 25. And they get a big play. I think they just ran it, maybe they threw a screen. Got it to 4th and 8. They're kind of in this middle zone of either kicking a field goal or punting it, and you don't really want to do either, so you go for it. And then Ty Simpson, he makes a crazy play. One of the best throws that I think I've seen all season. Rolls a little bit to the left, throws it over the Mizzou defender, right into the breadbasket, right over the Mizzou player's hands, right into the breadbasket. You couldn't have handed the ball to him any better. It was a beautiful throw, and honestly, probably an indefensible one if you're Mizzou. Like, I don't think that you're able to defend that kind of throw. But you can't be in that situation. It is 3rd and 25. There is no world in any way that you allow them to convert in that situation. You're in that situation, you cannot give up that play, right? Like, you can't be in a 3rd and 25 situation and allow them to convert. That is completely unacceptable, especially in a late game scenario like that. That's how you lose football games. That's why you lost that football game, because you had a real shot to win that game if you just don't let them get 25 yards in 2 plays. It's not that hard. It's hard against a team like Alabama, where you're kind of like, oh my God, we actually have a shot to win this game. It's hard. It's hard to finish that off. It's hard to finish off an upset like that. But you can't let that happen. You just can't. Just can't. And it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch that happen. But man, if you're Mizzou, you got to be feeling good. Like, you played that good against a team that is the hottest team in the country right now. They just beat Georgia. They've just beat Vanderbilt. Now they've beaten Mizzou. Now coming up, we'll talk about it later, they have to play Tennessee this weekend. They're the hottest team in the country. That is not a team that anybody wants to play right now. That's not a team that, even if you think you're if I'm Ohio State, the team that I'm scared of the most right now is Alabama. It's Alabama. Even after the loss to Florida State, it's Alabama. You were able to compete with that team and make it a 3-point game. You had a shot to go to overtime with about 30 seconds left, right? You have a shot to win that game. You have to be happy for Mizzou. Now, the biggest win of the weekend is the biggest win in Indiana football history. 30-20 at Autzen Stadium. Dante Moore, man, he didn't have a great game. He did not have a great game. He went 21 for 34, 186 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. That's not okay. You can't have 2 interceptions against Indiana. Jordan Davison had 8 carries for 59 yards. Not great. And the receivers just did not show up today, man. I forgot who it was, but he had 1 catch for 44 yards. That was their best receiver from the day. 1 catch. Dak Moore, where was he? I think he had a few catches. No yards. Oregon's got to be disappointed, man. This is a top 10 matchup at home against a team that is nowhere near you in recruiting. Nowhere near you in recruiting. That's a game that you look forward to. That's a game that the elites of college football look at and say, hey, they've had a good season. They're ranked in the top 10. We're way better than them. Go beat them. Because then it looks good on our resume, even though we're a lot better than they actually are. You couldn't get that done. And honestly, a little bit of me is like, well, Indiana is real. This is not the Indiana from last year. That idea of like, oh, well, they're actually a lot worse, should be an easy top 10 game. That was last year. This is not last year's Indiana team. But, man, if you're Oregon, this is a competitive character gut check. If you're Oregon. This is okay, we didn't really expect to win that game. Or we didn't expect to lose that game if you're Oregon. How do we respond to that? I think you could ask the same thing about Penn State a couple weeks ago. And look how they responded. They don't have a coach anymore. That's not what I'm saying is going to happen for Oregon. The fact that that happened with Penn State is crazy in its own right. That's not going to happen to Oregon. They will be fine. They have too much belief in that locker room to not get it figured out and not be a competitive football team. But you can go on and get upset maybe once or twice this year. But I think the Big Ten has just gotten better. Throughout the past few years, I think the Big Ten just gotten better. You still got to go play tough teams in the Big Ten week in and week out. Don't fall asleep. Let this fuel you if you're Oregon. And you should be just fine. You have the talent to be just fine. And honestly, I don't think it was really on you guys. I think Indiana's just that good, man. Fernando Mendoza, he's being talked about the number one quarterback in the NFL draft next year. He went for 20 for 31, 215 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Roman Hemby had 19 carries for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. So 215 yards in the air. Fernando Mendoza's beating you. 2 touchdowns on the ground from Hemby. Beating you on the ground. Elijah Surratt, 121 yards, 8 catches. 121 yards on 8 catches. And he threw in a touchdown just as an exclamation point. What a game. What a game. And then the defense throws in 6 sacks and 8 TFLs. How are you supposed to win that game if you're Oregon? Indiana is that good this year, okay? This is by far the biggest win from Indiana football. It might be the biggest win of Indiana basketball in my lifetime. I know they used to be really good, but this is the biggest moment I think I've seen from Indiana athletics. This wasn't just an upset. This wasn't just, oh, we went and beat a top 10 Oregon team. This was a period on the sentence that the Illinois game started. They crushed Illinois. They crushed them. That was a slaughtering. Illinois died on the field that day. There were still people that thought, oh, it's Indiana, they're just playing Illinois. That was not me. After that game, and there were a lot of other people after that game like, Indiana's legit. That's not just a win. That's not just a blowout win. That's something that an Alabama would do in their heyday, which no, Indiana's not Alabama, despite what Curt Cignetti says. That is something that a good national championship level team would do to a team that isn't a national championship level team. Beat them by 53 points. So going into this game, I would have picked Oregon. But if it was at Indiana, I think I would have picked Indiana. That was a win to finish off what the Illinois game started. After this game, I don't think that there is a single person out there that could say, yeah, no, this is the same Indiana team as last year. They're just going to go to the college football playoff based off of an easy schedule, and they're going to get blown out. Nope. No, that is not this Indiana team. Fernando Mendoza is legitimately an NFL quarterback. Curt Cignetti might be my favorite coach in the country right now. I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. And you know what I love about Curt Cignetti? He's getting tied to a lot of big coaching jobs right now. I think he's been in a big conversation with Penn State. He's been in a big conversation with Florida, I think. And, you know, I'm on Michigan Twitter a lot, and I see people overreacting to Sharon Moore losing to USC, and it's like, then you also see the clips of Curt Cignetti getting fired up on the sideline, yelling at a ref. It's like, I kind of wish that my head coach would act like that. Like, why does my head coach not have any fire? Why does he not have any that light lit underneath him? I love Curt Cignetti because I don't think that he would work at any 3 of those schools. Yes, they have more resources. Yes, they have all this different stuff for success. But Curt Cignetti, I think, to get his teams motivated, is to convince them that nobody believes in them. I think he did that at James Madison, and he's certainly doing that at Indiana right now. I think he is able to sell the fact that they are Indiana and they are the underdog. No one expects them to do what they're doing. And I think that lights a fire underneath his team. I think he does that better than anyone, except for maybe Kirby Smart whenever you saw Georgia players after the national championship saying that everyone said they were going 6-6. Nobody said that. Nobody said that. But Curt Cignetti, I think, is a very close second in that. In getting his players to believe that they are doubted and that nobody believes in them. If I'm Curt Cignetti, I'm not leaving that job. I'm not. I don't think that he can. I think he can. I don't think he will succeed at any other place other than Indiana or another school that is like that, where it's like they're in the lower tier compared to everybody else in their conference. So don't leave. Don't leave, Curt. Just stay at Indiana, man. You have it good. You are winning big football games, big time football games. You have the chance to go to India, to stay at Indiana and become a hero, to become a legend. If you go to Penn State, you're just trying to live to Joe Pa, just trying to live up to Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, trying to live up to Urban Meyer at Florida. And that is easier said than done. And I don't think, like at Indiana, you can be the Joe Pa. You can be the dude who brings Indiana to a level that they've never seen before. And you will be heralded there. You will be loved there forever. You have the chance to do that at Indiana. Stay there and do it. Now, the most uncomfortable I've ever been talking about something on this podcast. James Franklin has been fired by Penn State. What happened? 2 weeks ago, they were the favorite to win the national championship. They had the ball. They in overtime against Oregon, a top 10 team, in the whiteout. If they score a touchdown, they tie it. If they get the 2 point, they win that game. They win a top 10 game, and they are riding that wave for the rest of the season until they play Ohio State. Drew Aller throws that interception. And I think you could feel it from a large portion of Penn State's, not just their fan base, but their athletic program. I think the realization that if you didn't get it done in that game, a whiteout that you're favored in, that I think you could say that you have a better roster than Oregon. I think you could say, with everyone that you've brought back, with a 5-star quarterback back that's in his third year starting, in the whiteout, at home, like I'm just listing reasons why you should have won that game. And if there was ever going to be a game that you won that was a top 10 matchup, it was that game. And he didn't get it done. And I think he lost the locker room. I think he lost all hope that was around that program, that he would ever be able to do what he wanted to do there. I think that he lost that belief. And if you lose that belief from the fans, the athletic department is usually the second to go. And third, the locker room. You have no business coaching at Penn State. You have no business coaching everywhere. If you have lost all three of those, you cannot be coaching at that school anymore. I think it's insane. I think in 5 to 8 years, Penn State's going to really regret this decision. I think this is one of those classic, like, oh man, we have it good, but we could have it so much better. No, that's not guaranteed. It's not. 10-2 every year. You know how many programs will kill for that, man? Penn State isn't the kind of program that's going to be there every year no matter what. I don't think that they are. I don't think that they're in Ohio State. They're not in Alabama. They're not in Georgia. They're not in LSU. They could fall, and they could fall a lot. Look at Nebraska. Look where they were. Their coach retired. Tom Osborne retired. Have never been the same since. James Franklin, I don't think he was ever going to bring you a national championship, especially after the loss to Oregon. But I think that you're going to regret it in a few years whenever you don't go 10-2. Whenever you finish 7-5 this year. You hire a new coach and you get a lot of hype around your program there for a bit. Maybe you go 10-2 for the first year. And the next year kind of takes a dip, but you're 9-3. You beat a good team in year 2, your new coach. But you beat a good team, so you get a lot of momentum going forward. And then you fall to 7-5 the year after that, so you're right back to where you were whenever you fired him. And you're like, okay, well, you've shown us a lot. You've shown us a couple good seasons. Last year wasn't good enough. Let's get it fixed. Oh, crap. We just went 6-6 again. You fire that coach. Now you're building a roster off of a roster that's not good. Now you're building off a 6-6 roster. How are you going to be able to get out of that? That can start a vicious cycle. And if you're a Penn State fan, you've got to be terrified. You've got to be terrified. There is such a range of variety of ways that this could go. You could hire Matt Rule. You could hire Curt Cignetti. You could hire Manny Diaz. Hire whoever you want. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. 10-2 was a guarantee under James Franklin. Nothing's guaranteed now. Nothing. Recruiting, on and off the field, you can't expect it. You can't expect it anymore. And if I was in that situation, I would be terrified if I were a fan of Penn State. And I wish them luck. I have nothing against Penn State. I don't like the way that they reacted to the whole Michigan sign stealing thing. I thought that was soft, and then they knew what we were doing for 32 straight plays and still couldn't stop it. So it didn't really matter. But I feel for you. If you're a Penn State fan, I feel for you, man. That is not what you want after in a season that you thought you should win a national championship. 2 years ago, Michigan, national championship or bust. They go 15-0, win the Natty. Last year, Ohio State, national championship or bust. They lose a couple games in the regular season, but they got it done. Now it's Penn State's turn. Bring back everybody. Bring back 5-star quarterback. Bring back the head coach. You upgrade at defensive coordinator. Bring back the offensive coordinator. You bring back the best running back, what should have been the best running back duo in the conference and should have been the best running back duo in the country. And you have your head coach fired after week 7. I've never seen anything like it. Never have seen anything like that. I don't think I will see anything like that for a long, long time. Just completely shocking. Like reading that news the other day, my instant thought was, man, a month ago I thought they were going to play in the national championship game. And now the dude that has coached at Penn State for most of my life, he's coached there for 12 years. I am 18 years old. He's coached there for 2/3 of my life. He's no longer there after going a play away from a national championship game appearance last year. He's fired and he's out of a job. Crazy the world that we live in these days, man. You just get fired like that, and it is insane to me. It's insane to me that James Franklin has lost his job, and Billy Napier hasn't. I don't know what Florida's doing. But let's lighten the mood here, okay? We got more football being played this weekend. We have more football. Imagine telling yourself a month ago, footballs are starting. You get football every week, man. That's just such an awesome feeling. Such an awesome feeling. Just knowing that you, every single weekend, are going to get college football. I love it. I love it so much. Let's go to where James Franklin came from. LSU is traveling to Nashville to play against Vanderbilt. It's so weird to me that we have talked so much about Vanderbilt this season, but it's for good reason. They're a really, really good football team. I think these teams are very similar in production. I think that what they bring to the table is very similar. LSU's run game has been not there, to say the least. It has not been a thing. And it's been tough to watch. Their defense has played good, but I don't think it's to the level of Vanderbilt, which is so weird. That does not sound right coming out of my mind. But Vanderbilt, I think, is the better team here. I think that they can run the ball a lot better than LSU can. I know that. I think that even the defense is better than LSU's defense. I think Diego Pavia, I think they have an edge at quarterback. I think if you go to the NFL, they'll tell you Garrett Nussmeier miles and miles and miles ahead of Diego Pavia. But in college, for what you need to be a successful quarterback in college, I think Diego Pavia has the edge at quarterback. So I think if you're combining the fact that I think Vanderbilt just has the better team, I think they're better coached, I think they have the better quarterback, they have the better run game, I don't know if they have the better defense, but I think it's close enough that their offense should be able to put a gap there. I think Vanderbilt's going to win this football game. I think that they need that signature win like they had last year against Alabama. They need that signature win to be able to say this isn't your average Vanderbilt team, which I think that having 5 wins already can tell you that it's not your average Vanderbilt team. But they need that statement win, and I think they get it here. I think they're going to beat LSU. I think that Vanderbilt is going to beat LSU. It's just a weird sentence. Let's talk about Tennessee and Alabama, folks. It is the 3rd Saturday of October, so you know what that means. Tennessee and Alabama. We're at Bryant-Denny Stadium this year. Tennessee has kind of went quiet after the Georgia game. After the Georgia game, I think you're feeling good because you played close. You played in a way that you can say that you can think that you would beat big teams. You would beat good teams. You have another shot here against Alabama, okay? I really like this game because I think Tennessee is going to be able to play this game close. I know they have had very, very, very tight and very, very close games recently against Mississippi State and against Arkansas this last weekend, but man, I think that they're just looking ahead. I think with Arkansas, you're playing a weird situation where you got Bobby Petrino back at Arkansas. That's crazy to me. I grew up not really knowing who Bobby Petrino was other than the neck brace guy, and he also happened to coach at Missouri State because that's where my sister went, that I went to college. So now he's back, and now the freaking neck brace guy is back coaching the same team that he got the neck brace at. And I'm going to talk about Tennessee here. I really like what they're bringing. I really, really like Tennessee. I like what they did against Syracuse early in the season. They were throwing the ball deep. They've been able to run the ball really well. The defense has played really good. I think they're going to have a shot in this game. I think Alabama's going to win. It would be stupid for me to pick against Alabama right now, okay? They have beat Georgia, Vanderbilt, Mizzou the past 3 weeks. Why in the world would I pick against Alabama right now? They are playing better than anybody else in the country. I think the run game and, again, just a few timely throws from Ty Simpson, and I think Alabama will be able to pull this out in the 3rd Saturday of October game. I can't wait. It's going to be a huge game. It's going to be a big rivalry. Emotion's going to be high. I can't wait to watch that game. It's going to be a blast. Now, what I think is arguably the most impactful game of the weekend is USC at Notre Dame. This is a gotta-have-it game for both teams. Notre Dame because, well, you already have 2 losses. If you lose again, you're probably completely done with the college football playoff. USC because I don't think that they're going to go the rest of the season without another loss. So I think if you lose to Notre Dame, you're going to get another loss at some point during the season, and I think you miss the playoffs. USC is coming off a huge win against Michigan. I hit on it a little bit at the beginning of the show, but USC beat Michigan in a way that I can start to believe in them and believe in what they're doing. Because there's been games where they've beaten a good team, but they've beaten them in a way that they just throw the ball deep. It's the old-fashioned Lincoln Riley, like, we're going to play a ton of offense, no defense, we can't tackle, who cares, we're going to outscore you. I don't like whenever teams that are good at something do what they're good at. I want them to be able to do what everybody's been doubting them being able to do. In USC's case, nobody thought that they would be able to out-physical Michigan, and they did. And not only a little bit, by a mile. The final score was 31-13. It could have been worse than that. Okay, they ran the ball through Michigan's defense. Michigan gave up a 3rd and 26 to them. 3rd and 26, all they did was hand the ball off, and he was gone. I threw things across my basement. Doesn't matter. That was impressive. The way that they out-physicaled Michigan and the way that they won that game in the trenches, not just throwing the ball deep and scoring enough points to where Michigan couldn't let them win. They won it defensively. They only allowed 13 points to the best quarterback recruit that we've seen in 8 years. That was impressive. That was a kind of win that I kind of believe in USC. I'm going to pick Notre Dame. I know I just gave a bunch of reasons why I would pick USC. I'm going to pick Notre Dame because I think that they're more hungry. I think they're at a point where they know they have to have it, and if they don't, their season's over. If USC doesn't get it, their season's not over. It's just a lot closer to being over. If Notre Dame doesn't win this game, their season's over. They have already had 2 heartbreaking losses to Texas A&M and to Miami. 2 games that really they were in and could have easily won, and they didn't. They lost the Texas A&M game due to a botched PAT snap. They're in a spot that they have to win. So I think they will win. I think Michigan didn't run the ball at the teeth of that defense enough. And I think that Notre Dame will do it with Jeremiah Love. So I think that they should be able to get the job done. So I'm going to go with Notre Dame. Not a lot of confidence. I'm not confident in any of these picks this week. I love these 4 games. They're going to be a ton of fun to watch. But Notre Dame, run the ball. And I think you'll be okay. I think that Michigan should have done that a lot more. It did kind of suck that Justin Haynes got hurt. That didn't help at all. But just run the ball. And I think you'll be okay if you're Notre Dame. I think that defense will snap. I think that they'll break the way they did against Illinois. Now, my favorite game of the weekend. I've loved all 4 of these games, the 3 that I talked to before this, but the top 10 matchup of the week. Ole Miss is going to Georgia. Oh my gosh, we're getting a rematch of that crazy game last year, man. I cannot wait. 2:30, Saturday afternoon. It's going to be a thriller. Georgia has got to get their O-line and run game figured out. I think that that's been their problem, especially like against Auburn. They got crushed on the run. They got crushed on the ground. Alabama didn't run the ball very well either. The O-line, I feel like Gunnar Stockton's just running around back there trying to make something happen. The O-line, I think, needs to be better if you're Georgia, right? Now, on the flip side, Ole Miss, they barely got past Washington State. I think it was very, very clear that they were looking ahead to this game coming up, and they almost lost to Washington State. Like Lane Kiffin said, I think that Trinidad Chambliss can't be doing that D2 that he was doing at Ferris State, right? He can't be playing at a D2 level. I know that won him a national championship at D2, but you have to be playing that the way that you did the first few weeks that you got the job. You just have to. There's no way to win if you don't. Austin Simmons will get thrown back into that lineup like that if you play like you did against Washington State. This is kind of possible to be a huge statement for Ole Miss. I know that they did this last year. They beat Georgia last year, but they followed it up with a loss to Kentucky. And then their playoff hopes were dead in the water. But if you can win this game, if you can do it twice in a row, it's a program win. It's not just a team win. Last year against Georgia, that's a team win. This would be a program year-over-year win for Lane Kiffin. And I think that it would show recruits, it would show the country that we're here to stay. Ole Miss is... I've grown up with Ole Miss being pretty decent, but in the past, they really haven't been. This is their chance to show that they can be a perennial contender in the SEC. I don't think they will. I keep doing this where I'm like trying to talk myself into picking a team, and then I'm like, well, it's Georgia. It's Georgia. Georgia's going to do what Georgia does, okay? They've been here. They've experienced these type of games. I mean, last year, they lost this game. Granted, it was at Ole Miss. This year, it's at Stanford Stadium. But I think this game is a coin flip, really. I think, like, if I had to pick, I'm going with Georgia just because they've been there. I've seen them win these kinds of games. I've seen Kirby Smart get his team ready for these kinds of games, but it's a coin flip. This is going to be a fun game to watch, man. I cannot wait. It's going to be a blast. Last weekend was a blast. The middle part has been kind of iffy with all this crap going on, but this weekend, we got 3 huge SEC games, and then you also got USC at Notre Dame. You got even more games out there that I'm not even talking about right now. This is going to be a fun weekend. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I know you guys feel the same. I know this is probably going to be about around an hour long, which is longer than anything I've ever done on this channel, and I'm really excited about it. I love it. I love it so much. I cannot wait for this weekend. I hope you guys have a great weekend of watching college football. I hope I get to talk to you guys again next week. I'll at least get what I've been doing recently, where I get these 2 to 3 videos up on Friday before the game. They kind of didn't do horrible the first week. They didn't do great this last week. So we'll see. I'm just trying to get stuff out there, man. That's kind of my goal right now, is just to keep getting stuff out there. And I'm really glad I'm back to being able to do a full-length podcast, because I haven't done it in a couple of weeks. We got to cover everything. Going to edit it tomorrow. We'll get it out tomorrow, Thursday. I hope you guys have a great Friday, have a great Saturday, and I will hopefully talk to you guys next week. I can't wait. Have a ton of fun. I will see you guys next time.